Let's get a sense. Big Blue Giants. New York Football Giants. Some hype. First time in a couple of years there's actual expectations for one of the better franchises in the NFL. That's kind of lost its way in recent years, as Tiki and I have chronicled over the years, but looks like they might be getting the mojo back. And we're joined now by a Tiki and Tierney favorite, former Notre Dame star. He was probably sweating the other night against the Seminoles, but they did get the win. Couple of Pro Bowls out in Minnesota. First 10 years with the Vikings. Now a New York Giant. That's our buddy Kyle Rudolph. Kyle, Tiki and Tierney, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back on. I think it's one of the more intriguing teams in football, based on a lot of things that Tiki and I have flushed through this summer. Let's start with this. When you went through the Giants locker, I'm always fascinated to get this answer. You leave outside of a year, you leave a relatively winning situation with Minnesota, and then you go to a new locker room, new stadium, new fans, new everything. When you first started to mix it up in the weight room, get a sense of what the Giants were about organizationally. Kyle, did you get a sense that this team expected to start winning this year? Did you get that sense right away?
Absolutely. I think for me, I go back to my time in Minnesota, and I see this team in a place that we were in early on in Coach Zimmer's time there. We have a ton of young talent. You have a core group of guys that can be together for the foreseeable future. You just have to grow, and you have to learn how to start winning these close games and not beating yourself. And I referenced the transition. We went, in Coach Zimmer's first year, we went 7-9. And when you go back after that season, you can find 2, 3, 4 games where you're like, man, we had no business losing that game. We beat ourselves in this situation. We didn't execute these fundamentals. And for me, when I was looking around in free agency, one of the things that was most appealing to me, not only about this organization, as it's one of the best organizations in all of sports, certainly in the NFL, was the culture that they're building, not only in this locker room, but throughout the entire facility. And then I take it a step further and I dive into last season and, see a team that was 6-10, one game away from being in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But once again, you can look at 3 or 4 different games where it's like this team had no business losing. They just got to stop beating themselves. And for me, it was an incredible opportunity for me to come here and be in a young locker room. And what better way for me going into year 11 than to kind of revitalize my career, than come here and play for a great organization in a locker room that's as close as I've been around.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You see it when you're around the guys, and Joe Judge, the head coach, who we've had on a couple of times. That culture you're talking about, it comes directly from him. It's kind of weird, right? Being the old head in a young locker room, Kyle. I know you don't feel old, but that's actually where you are. One of the young parts of this team, though, Kyle, is the offensive line, and they've struggled over the years, and even in the preseason, it was a little bit of a struggle. Where do you feel offensively you are with the offensive line?
I think the biggest thing for these guys, they're young players playing together. The more reps they get, the better they are. And, an offensive line is a unit, 5 guys that have to play together. In my opinion, they have the toughest job in our game, and that, protecting the quarterback against the highest paid players on the opposing team's defense. But I have all the faith in the world in our guys up front, because I see the way they work every day. I see the way they come to the facility, the way they prepare. And I got all the confidence in the world that those guys are going to go out and play really well.
Yeah, Kyle, one of the things that I think it's a disservice to a young line is the way that preseason works now. There's not a lot of padded practices, as you know. You remember when they were. The preseason games, the vets don't play, or the starters, I should say, they don't play a lot. And so you often get just one real opportunity to play. Do you find that harmful or helpful? I know it's a health and safety thing, but I think you got to put the pads on. You got to feel what it's like to go out there and be beat and then beat someone else. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's tougher for young offensive lines nowadays than it ever has been.
Certainly. And I mean, I think part of that too, you could look at the transition from college football into the NFL. Look at the development of young offensive linemen in our league, and, coming from these spread offenses in college football and then playing more of a pro style pocket protection type offense in the NFL. But I will also say too, so much more is on protection and protecting the quarterback than just the 5 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
From afar, you look at it and you see, sacks, hurries. Those all go directly to the offensive line. But there's so many more factors on a play, that goes into the young quarterback getting the ball out of his hands quicker. That goes into me as a tight end being accountable in protection when I'm called upon. Our backs being there, chipping for the tackles. So there isn't a better indication of an offense working together than 11 guys protecting the quarterback. And again, it's one of the unfair biases, if you would, of our game, that protection and quarterback hurries and sacks automatically goes to the 5 offensive linemen when oftentimes it's not necessarily those 5 guys.
Gotcha. Talking to Kyle Rudolph, our good buddy, formerly of the Vikings, a decade there, a couple of All-Pros. Now he's with the G-Men. And he's got a chance to, I like the way you frame that, Teak, maybe a little revitalization. Not that he ever took anything for granted. He's a life grinder with the game. But it's got to be cool to kind of go somewhere new and feel the youth, the electricity. Everywhere you look, kids are young. It's got to be they got to be flying around. The energy's got to be palpable, which gets us to Saquon Barkley. You guys follow the fellow stars and your peers are in the NFL. Does he look like he's still Saquon? And when are we going to see Saquon Barkley play?
I've been really fortunate in 10 years to have blocked for 2 really good running backs. Adrian Peterson is a first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind, and Dalvin Cook certainly picked off right where Adrian left off when he was drafted 4 years ago in Minnesota. And it's extremely exciting for me, being a tight end that's involved in the run game. When you block for a back like that, and that, look, when that film clicks on Monday, you don't want to be the reason why he gets tackled, because he has an opportunity to hit a home run every single play. And, Adrian, Dalvin were the same way. It's been a lot of fun for me. Saquon and I were able to get kind of close to one another because our timeline has been very similar. We rehabbed together. We were on PUP list to start training camp together. So it's been fun. He's pushed me every step along the way. And again, I go back to that, I'm living off some of these younger players, and he just brings so much energy each and every day to the work that we were putting in. And it's been a lot of fun for me, and he certainly pushed me this offseason.
And by the way, and be honest, you ever just sneak a peek at the quads or what?
I mean, you can't
not
help
see
but
them.
see those things. Exactly.
You can't help but see it. Is Daniel Jones, Kyle, is he ready to prove it this year? Because that's obviously one of the big talks about the New York Giants. Daniel Jones, first-round draft pick couple years ago. There's talent around him, yourself included. Saquon, if and when he gets healthy, which hopefully is this week. If not, it'll be relatively soon. Is he ready to take on that responsibility of being the catalyst and not the turnover machine that he's been at some points in his career?
You know what? I think so. But again, I go back to the 10 other guys on offense. It's not fair to him when, you lose one of the best running backs in football and you no longer are two-dimensional offense. When you don't have consistency, you got injuries at the receiver position, at the tight end position. Continuity is so important for a young quarterback, and I think our organization has done an unbelievable job in bringing in pieces to put around Daniel. So his natural ability and talent and the reason why he was the 6th overall pick and came here to New York can shine through. I remember 2 years ago when we came up and played the Giants at MetLife, and a couple of our defensive guys, Everson Griffin, Harrison Smith, both all-pro, all-world defensive guys, and sitting on the bus after the game, and they were just raving about how talented this kid was. And so I've kind of followed Daniel from afar since he came into this league, and his ability, his work ethic, it's all there. now we just got to go out and win football games.
And listen, man, I know it's going to be a little tricky with the COVID protocols, and you've got to navigate the season, but now that you're with the Giants, Tiki and I obviously know where a lot of the Giants and Jets live. We're not far from you guys. We're both in New Jersey. A little dinner at some point. When you guys have a bye week, maybe a little scotch.
You sign me up. I'll definitely meet up with you guys and have a bite to eat.
Love it, man.
Love to do it. Good luck at the start of the season. Appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you very much.
You guys, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.